Tavana was just a boy when his life turned into a nightmare. His parents, the only people who had ever loved him, were gone, taken too soon, leaving him with nothing but memories and an empty stomach. In the village of Kimbala, where people whispered behind closed doors, and only the strong thrived, an orphan like him was nothing more than a burden. He wandered through the dusty paths, his clothes torn, his feet cracked from walking barefoot on the hot ground. He knocked on doors, hoping for a scrap of food, a kind word, anything. But each time, he was met with cold eyes and slammed doors. "Go away, Tavano," they sneered. "You bring bad luck." The villagers believed his misfortune was contagious, as if his suffering would spread like a curse if they got too close. At the marketplace, where the scent of roasted yams and sizzling meat filled the air, his stomach twisted with hunger. He watched children his age laugh as they bit into sweet fruits, their hands sticky with sugarcane juice. He wished, just for a moment, that he could be one of them, but no one would share with an orphan. Some nights, he curled up beneath the giant baobab tree at the edge of the village, shivering as the wind howled through the branches. He clutched his knees to his chest, staring at the twinkling stars, wondering if his parents could see him. Did they know how much he was suffering? Did they regret leaving him behind in this cruel world? The only kindness he ever received was from an old woman named Mama Isuba, who sometimes left a small piece of bread near the well, pretending not to see him take it. But even she never spoke to him, too afraid of what the villagers might say. Every day felt like a battle Tavano was losing. He was tired of being hungry, tired of being alone, tired of being invisible in a world that refused to see him. But fate had something unexpected in store for him, something that would change his life forever. The drums echoed through the village, loud and urgent, calling everyone to the central square. People rushed from their homes, whispering among themselves, wondering what news had arrived from the palace. The air was thick with curiosity and fear, for whenever the king's messengers appeared, it meant something important was about to be declared. Standing on a raised platform, a royal guard unrolled a long scroll, his deep voice carrying over the murmuring crowd. "By the order of King Mokale, ruler of Kimbala, protector of the Golden Lands, a decree has been made." The villagers leaned in, waiting. Any man brave enough to marry the woman of the mountain Buzara will be rewarded with riches beyond his wildest dreams. Gasps filled the air. Women clutched their children. Men exchanged uneasy glances. No one spoke the name Buzara out loud, unless they had to. She was a legend, a warning passed down from elders to children. Some said she had once been a powerful healer, but she had angered the gods and was cursed to live alone in the mountains. Others whispered that she was a witch, feeding on the souls of those foolish enough to wander too close to her home. No one had seen her in years, but the stories never faded. The idea of marrying her was unthinkable. "What kind of man would dare do such a thing?" someone muttered. "No wealth is worth that price," another agreed. Even the greediest among them hesitated. Gold and jewels were tempting, but not if it meant a lifetime trapped with a cursed woman. The royal guard finished reading and stepped back. The decree had been given. Now, all that was left was to see if anyone would be foolish or desperate enough to accept. Tavano sat on the cold, hard ground near the marketplace, his stomach twisting with hunger. The smell of roasted maize and sizzling meat filled the air, but no one spared him a glance. His throat was dry, his body weak. Days had passed since he had eaten a full meal. He had learned to survive on scraps, on whatever he could find, but even that was not enough. The villagers avoided him as if he were invisible. He heard their whispers. Poor boy, cursed boy, unlucky boy. No one wanted him around. No one cared if he lived or died. He was nothing more than a shadow in their world. Then, the king's decree spread like wildfire. The news reached every hut, every corner of the village. A chance for untold riches. A fortune so great it could change a man's life forever. But there was a price. Buzara, the woman of the mountain. Tavano listened from a distance as the men laughed at the idea. Who would be foolish enough to marry her? Not even a desperate man would do it. She is cursed. It would be a fate worse than death. He clenched his fists. They spoke as if suffering was new to them, as if they understood what it meant to starve. to have nothing, to be alone. But Tavano knew. He lived that pain every single day. He stared at the path leading to the mountain. The thought of marriage had never crossed his mind. He was too poor to even dream of such thing. And yet, if he took this challenge, he would no longer be the boy everyone pitied, no longer the orphan begging for food. He would have a home, riches, a future. The fear of Buzara lingered in his mind, the stories of her curse, the whispers of her power. But what was worse, living in fear or dying in hunger? Even a cursed life with wealth was better than this endless suffering. His heart pounded as he stood up, wiping the dust from his ragged clothes. His legs were weak, but his resolve was strong. He had made his decision. He would do what no man dared. As he took his first steps toward the mountain, the villagers watched in stunned silence. Some gasped, some shook their heads. A few laughed cruelly. "The poor boy has lost his mind," someone muttered. "He is walking into his own grave," another sneered. Tavano ignored them. For the first time in years, he had something to fight for. Whether it was bravery or foolishness, he didn't know, but he knew one thing for certain. He had nothing left to lose. The sun hung low in the sky as Tavano took slow, heavy steps toward the mountain. His heart pounded, his mouth dry with fear, but he forced himself to keep moving. Behind him, the villagers gathered, watching like it was some kind of spectacle. Their laughter rang in his ears, sharp and cruel. "Look at him! The orphan boy thinks he's a man now. He's marrying a ghost. Maybe she'll eat him before the night is over. He's desperate. He'll do anything for gold, even sell himself to a cursed woman." Tavano clenched his fists, ignoring them. He had made his choice, and there was no turning back. But deep down, doubt gnawed at him. Was he making a terrible mistake? The climb up the mountain was harder than he expected. The path was steep, the air thin, and his body weak from hunger. Sweat dripped down his forehead. His legs trembled, but he kept pushing forward. The deeper he went, the quieter the world became. No birds chirped, no leaves rustled. It was as if the mountain itself was holding its breath. Then he saw it, a small hut, old and worn, nestled between the rocks. Smoke curled from a tiny chimney, the only sign that someone lived there. His stomach twisted. This was it. This was where Buzara lived. He took a shaky step forward, and the door creaked open. At first, he could only see a shadow. Then she stepped into the fading sunlight, and his breath caught in his throat. She was ancient. Her back was hunched, her bones sharp beneath her thin, wrinkled skin. Her face was lined with deep creases like the bark of an old tree. Her eyes were small, dark, unreadable. Her hands trembled as she gripped a wooden staff, her fingers twisted with age. She looked like she had lived 100 lifetimes, and every single one had taken something from her. Tavano felt something sink inside him. This was worse than he had imagined. He had expected an old woman, but Buzara looked barely human. The stories had been right. She was something else, something unnatural. His throat tightened. Could he really go through with this? Buzara studied him for a long moment, then spoke, her voice raspy but firm. "You are the one who came for me?" Tavano swallowed hard and nodded. His hands were shaking. He wanted to run, to pretend this never happened, but there was no turning back now. Without another word, she turned and disappeared into the hut, leaving the door open behind her. An unspoken invitation. Tavano stood frozen for a moment. Then, with one final glance at the world he was leaving behind, he stepped inside. The hut was dimly lit, the flickering flames of a small oil lamp casting long shadows on the walls. Tavano sat on the edge of the straw mat, his hands clenched into fists. His heart felt heavy, his mind clouded with doubt. The wedding had been quick. No celebrations, no joy, just a simple exchange of words under the cold mountain sky. And now, he was here, alone with his new wife. Buzara sat across the room, her frail body hunched over a wooden bowl of steaming broth. The scent of strange herbs filled the air. But Tavano had no appetite. He could barely breathe. He could barely think. His eyes flickered toward her, taking in every detail. The deep wrinkles that lined her face, the thin strands of white hair that clung to her scalp, the way her bony hands trembled slightly as she lifted the spoon to her lips. She was old, ancient, a woman who could have been his grandmother. or even older than that, and yet she was his wife. Tears welled up in his eyes, but he refused to let them fall. He couldn't show weakness, not now, but inside, he was breaking. Was this really his fate? Was this the price he had to pay for survival? He had dreamed of a better life, of escaping his suffering, but this felt like a prison of a different kind. His fingers dug into the rough fabric of his clothes. He wanted to scream, to run, to undo everything. The villagers' laughter echoed in his head. They had mocked him, called him foolish, and now he felt it too. Had he destroyed his life? Had he traded one misery for another? A single tear slipped down his cheek, and he wiped it away quickly, ashamed. He had nothing left, no home, no family. The only thing he had now was this marriage, this woman, this cold, lonely night on the mountain. And for the first time, he wasn't sure if he had made the right choice. The night was silent, the air inside the small hut thick with the scent of burning herbs. Taverneau lay on the straw mat, his back turned to Buzara, staring blankly at the wooden walls. Sleep refused to come. His mind was restless, heavy with regret. The cold mountain wind slipped through the cracks of the hut, but it wasn't the wind that made him shiver. It was the thought of what his life had become. His breathing was slow, steady, but his heart felt trapped in a cage. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the faces of the villagers laughing at him. He saw himself walking up that mountain, sealing his fate. Was there really no way out? Then, just as he felt himself drifting into uneasy sleep, something changed. A warm glow flickered behind him, soft at first, then growing stronger. Taverneau frowned, his body tensing. The dim hut, which had been swallowed in darkness, was now filling with golden light. It was unnatural, like sunlight trapped inside the room, moving, shifting, alive. His breath caught in his throat. Slowly he turned over, his heart pounding. What he saw made him freeze. Buzara was no longer hunched over in the corner. She was standing in the middle of the room, her frail, wrinkled body surrounded by the mysterious golden light. But something was happening to her, something impossible. Before his eyes, her ancient skin began to peel away, like dry leaves shedding from a tree. Her back straightened, her fragile hands transformed into smooth, graceful fingers. The deep lines on her face faded, replaced by the soft, youthful glow of a woman untouched by time. Taverneau could not move. His mind screamed that this was a dream, that it could not be real, but it was. It was happening right in front of him. The woman standing before him was no longer the old, cursed wife he had married. She was someone else, someone breathtaking, someone powerful. The golden light pulsed around her like an aura, illuminating the entire hut. His lips parted, but no words came out. He didn't know if he should be afraid or amazed. Who was she? What was she? The night, once cold and empty, was now filled with a secret beyond anything he had ever imagined. Taverneau's breath hitched in his throat as he watched the impossible unfold before him. The golden light swirled around Buzara, flickering like fire, illuminating every corner of the small hut. His eyes widened in disbelief as her ancient, wrinkled skin began to crack, then peel away, piece by piece. It was as if time itself was reversing before his very eyes. The hunched old woman he had married was disappearing, shedding like a snake, molting its old skin. Beneath the layers of age and decay, something else was emerging, something radiant, something beautiful. Taverneau's fingers dug into the mat beneath him as he struggled to process what he was witnessing. The deep lines on Buzara's face vanished, replaced by smooth, unblemished skin that glowed in the golden light. Her silver hair darkened, flowing down her back in thick, silky strands. Her frail hands, once thin and trembling, were now graceful, steady, full of life. She lifted her head, and for the first time, Taverneau saw her eyes, no longer clouded with age, but bright, deep, and hypnotic. He could barely breathe. The woman standing before him was nothing like the one he had married. She was young, striking, more beautiful than anyone he had ever seen. Taverneau pressed his back against the wall, his heart hammering. What are you?" he stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. Buzara turned to him, and for a moment, silence stretched between them. Then, in a voice that was no longer weak and tired, but smooth and powerful, she spoke. "I am Buzara," she said, "but not as you have known me." Tavano swallowed hard, his mind spinning. This wasn't just magic. This was something far greater. A secret, a mystery, hidden from the world. The woman he had feared, the woman he had been forced to marry, was not a cursed old hag. She was something else entirely, and he had no idea what it meant for him. Tavano's hands trembled as he stared at the woman standing before him. His mind refused to believe what his eyes were seeing. Just hours ago, he had married an old, frail woman, a figure feared by the entire village. But now, she was transformed, radiant, youthful, and more beautiful than he could have ever imagined. Buzara stepped closer, the golden light around her fading, her smooth skin glowing under the dim lamp in the hut. There was no trace of the wrinkled, hunched figure she had been before. She was a vision, almost otherworldly, yet there was something in her eyes, something ancient, something burdened with secrets. Tavano swallowed hard, his voice barely above a whisper. How is this possible? She sighed, her gaze steady. Because I am under a curse. His stomach clenched. A curse. The word sent a chill through him. He had heard the villagers speak of her with fear, calling her a witch, a monster. But standing before him now, she looked nothing like the monster they feared. She lowered herself onto the mat beside him, folding her delicate hands in her lap. "Many years ago," she began, "I was betrayed by someone I loved. A man who could not see beyond what his eyes told him. Because of his betrayal, I was cursed to live as an old woman, trapped in a body that was not my own." Tavano's mouth went dry. "And now?" Buzara met his gaze. "The curse can be broken," she said, her voice steady, "but only if you keep my secret." His pulse quickened. "Secret?" She nodded. "No one must know what you have seen tonight. If you truly accept me, if you stay by my side and never reveal my truth, then one day the curse will end forever. I will be free." Tavano felt his breath hitch. It sounded simple, yet he could feel the weight of her words pressing down. "And if I tell someone," Buzara's expression darkened, "then disaster will follow, not just for me, but for you as well." A heavy silence filled the room. Tavano felt trapped between disbelief and wonder, between fear and something else he couldn't quite name. This was a test, not of strength, not of courage, but of something far deeper, his heart. And he had no idea if he was ready to face it. The morning sun rose over the village, casting long shadows on the dusty paths. Tavano walked through the marketplace, his mind still spinning from the night before. What he had witnessed in the hut felt like a dream, too unreal to believe. The old woman he had married was not what she seemed. She had transformed before his eyes, shedding her ancient skin and revealing a beauty beyond anything he had ever imagined. And yet, it was a secret he could never share. His heart pounded as he moved past the familiar faces of the villagers. They whispered, they pointed, they laughed. "Look at him, the poor fool who married the witch. He must have lost his mind. Or maybe she put a spell on him." Tavano kept his head down, his fists clenched. He had expected this. He had known they would mock him, but the weight of their words still pressed against his chest like a stone. Then, amid the jeers and laughter, a soft voice called his name. "Tavano." He turned, and his breath caught in his throat. Standing before him was Zalika, the most beautiful maiden in the village. Her dark eyes gleamed under the sunlight, her skin smooth as silk, her smile warm and inviting. She had never spoken to him before, not when he was just an orphan, not when he was starving on the streets. But now, she was looking at him differently. "You don't have to do this," she said, stepping closer. "You don't have to stay with her." Tavano swallowed hard, his mind clouded with doubt. "She's old, she's cursed," Zalika whispered, her fingers brushing lightly against his arm. "Come with me instead. You don't have to suffer." His heart raced. The villagers' laughter faded into the background. For the first time in his life, someone like Zalika was speaking to him, offering him something he had never had, attention, maybe even affection. But then, a memory flashed in his mind, the golden light, the way Buzara's eyes had looked into his, full of hope and pain, the warning she had given him. The choice was his, and it would change everything. Tavano stood frozen in place, his mind torn between two worlds. On one side was Buzara, the woman he had married, A woman trapped by a curse, bound to him by fate, trusting him with a secret that could change everything. On the other side was the world he had always known, the villagers, their laughter, their scorn, and now the sweet, tempting voice of Zalika. Her hand rested lightly on his arm, her eyes searching his. "You don't have to live like this," she whispered. "Come with me. Be free." The words sent a shiver through him. Freedom. It was something he had longed for all his life. No more hunger, no more pain, no more being treated as an outcast. He could leave the mountain behind, leave Buzara behind, and step into a new life, one where he was no longer the laughingstock of the village. But then he thought of Buzara. He thought of the way her voice had trembled when she told him the truth, the way she had looked at him with hope, as if he was the one person in the world who could save her. He thought of the golden light, the beauty hidden beneath the curse, and the promise she had made. "If you truly accept me, if you never betray me, the curse will be broken forever." And if he betrayed her? Disaster. His chest tightened. What if this was all a test? What if everything, the villagers' laughter, Zalika's touch, the temptation of an easy escape, was meant to see if his heart was strong enough to hold the truth? Zalika leaned closer, her breath warm against his skin. "Choose me," she whispered. "No one will ever laugh at you again." Tavano took a deep breath, his hands curled into fists. This was it, the moment that would decide his fate. Would he take the easy path, abandon Buzara, and lose the chance to witness the true magic of his choice? Or would he stand by her side, keep her secret, and hold on to the greatest treasure of all? His heart pounded as he made his choice. What will Tavano choose? Will he stay loyal to Buzara and unlock the true power of his fate? Or will temptation lead him to lose everything? The next part will reveal the shocking twist that no one saw coming. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next part. Your support keeps these stories alive. See you soon.